Okay, well, let's go ahead and get started. Good morning, everyone. Happy Friday. Just near the beginning of April 1st, end of March, so first quarter pretty much gone. So, thank you again for being on the call. I have Mr. Agena with me, seasoned experience with many years of real estate experience. And the legacy that his father started many years ago, back in the early 90s?
Yeah, might even been earlier.
Yeah. So we're gonna, just have a conversation and kind of hear a little bit of Al and a little bit of what transpired and got you into real estate. So let's go back even before you started real estate, because your father was the one that actually went into real estate. So can you tell me and share with a little bit of how that happened, how your father got into real estate?
My dad was lived in Hawaii, got into the military, served in the Air Force, and was the airline mechanic
Oh, wow.
for years.
Okay.
And then always just very entrepreneurial minded, and decided, I'm going to get into real estate. And as soon as he got into that, he never looked back.
Yeah. Yeah, so going back to the 90s, it was a different real estate than it is today. And I know because in the conversations I have with your father, he was very military and he was really a straight shooter. But more so, it was like when I would have conversations with Larry, uh, it was intense. And it was because he had the mindset, being structured and being in the military, but more so, he was a big believer of Mike Ferry. Mike Ferry, if you don't know who Mike Ferry has been in the coaching industry since the 70s. And I remember even with me in my career, we were all about Mike Ferry. So we kind of adapted and we kind of understood ourselves, of lead gen, prospecting, cold calling, going out there and door knocking. So him and I saw eye to eye, but it was intense sometimes because there was agreements and disagreements and how he would see things and how I would see things. But at the end, we would basically respect one another.
Yes.
So I definitely miss Larry. Larry is no longer with us, but his legacy still is with us. So then let's transition into you, Al. So what made you go into real estate?
So I was a programmer. So computers and things like that was my thing. And my dad would always have computer problems.
Okay.
So every weekend, every time I got to see him, he'd be like, hey, my computer's not working. So I go visit and fix the computers.
Yeah.
And then he had this database. It used to be like cards and pieces of paper. And he said, they're telling me I need to put this in an electronic database. He goes, I don't know what the database is. So I set that up for him.
Okay.
Then he had an electronic file of all his clients, and then he started to see the power of that. Like, hey, we keep in touch with them. And then he said, I need help. I got a couple of properties for sale. What are you doing on the weekend? He goes, not much, nothing productive. He goes, why don't you hold an open house? Tell you what, go get your broker's license, and then I can tell you how you can make some money, on the side. So I said, okay, I'll get my broker's license. I didn't know anything about it, so I just got the broker's license. 3 months later, I put up houses, and this was at the peak of the market, and it was like taking orders. Like, you want to buy this house? Yes. It was so easy.
Yeah.
I said, this is not a bad job. I didn't know. I thought this was like a hobby you did on the side, real estate.
Right.
And he goes, you can make some good money. He goes, yeah, you can make good money. As hard as you want to work, you can make all the money you want and take all the time off you want. I said, you can take all the time off you want because you're your own boss. And that kind of sparked a light in my head. And it wasn't to the time where I got laid off. So during 2000, we had this .com, and as a programmer, it was a great job.
Right.
2001, 2002, that kind of busted up. And my wife and I both worked in the technology field. We both got laid off at the same time. And we had a mortgage payment. And that hit hard. I was like, we're both unemployed. I have no income. What am I gonna do? And my dad said, if you work in real estate, you can never get fired. And it's like, crap, it's true. So I got into real estate. Yeah.
Now, did you, who was your first real estate company?
This one right here in this building. My dad incubated in TV,
Yeah,
Keller Williams, and then once they decided to open the South Bay office, I think there was about 8 agents.
yeah.
We sat in, and it was, I think it was concrete floors back then.
Right.
And now it's back to concrete floors.
Wow, so it's your first and still your
Only,
office.
I don't know anything about it, but hey, if something's working, don't fix it, right?
Exactly, exactly. No, that's great. So, from being in that type of industry and pivoting into real estate, what has been one of the biggest challenges you've and we can start it wherever you want, but in the beginning, what was some of the biggest challenges you had while doing real estate?
So I always thought of real estate as like a hobby.
A hobby, okay.
Yeah, I knew my dad, he did very comfortably, he'd take long vacations, and I thought, okay, that's his life. I had no idea the income.
Yeah,
And I just knew if I went to college, this was programmed to me. I got a degree, I get my job, I get my 401k, and then I could retire. That's how I was programmed. But I had no idea that the amount of money you could make, you can do it in a couple months
right.
as a programmer, like make $100,000 in 4 or 5 months, take the rest of the time off. I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah, real estate is definitely unique, but with that, it's not easy.
No.
So it's the daily grind. Right? It's the commitment on a daily basis. So tell me how your day looks like, because I think that's important for all of you to understand that the glamour of real estate is awesome, but you don't see the behind the scenes, right?
Exactly.
The daily grind, the ups and downs, the uncertainty. And I know you and I, Al, have been having conversations in the last couple of years of your struggles as well, and the challenges you've encountered through, quarterly sales. So kind of tell the audience here, what are some of the challenges you were facing?
So on the outside, it looks like a great life, to be honest. My dad always had a brand new car. He was always going to Hawaii. It's like, dang, what a great life. But get down to the nuts and bolts of things. So the first thing, I read the Red Book, the MREA. So that structured the hobby of what I thought it was to a business. And that really clicked with me. I said, no, this is actually a job, not a hobby. So that was the foundation. The other part was getting a coach. Back then was Mike Ferry.
Yeah.
And that coach scared the hell out of me. He'd call me. I used to wake up at 7. He'd say, no, you're going to wake up at 6. And then you're going to start waking up at 5.
Really?
And then at 5 in the morning, you said you like to swim, you like to surf. You're going to do that. And a couple of times I did not wake up. I have to text them. I'm awake. I'm going to go for my run. I finished my run. I'm going into the office. I'm going to door knock. I finished door knocking. I made these contacts. Now I'm going to call. And I have to text them every time. And it became a routine. And it was like, this is a job, but now the job can be done in 4 hours.
Mm.
And what you want to do with the rest of your 4 hours is up to you.
Right. Interesting.
Yeah.
So having a right coach definitely helps.
That was my foundation.
Okay. Yeah. And the importance of having a coach is one, the discipline, but holding you accountable.
Yeah.
To the daily grind. But I like what you said about your coach was it wasn't really the foundation of real estate, but it was getting up early so you had the opportunity to do the things you like.
Yes.
Before you actually get to the office.
That's exercise and then prospecting. So prospecting could sometimes we'd start at 7:30 in the morning with expired calls. And then the door knocking, I can go after that, or I can go even door knock. I used to do it at 7:30 in the morning. In the mornings, people are going to work. They're out there. And so I'd make my contacts over too.
what is your area of focus? What do you focus on? What city? Is there a specific city or you just, because I know you have a farm that
Yes.
you focus heavily in.
So my dad used to geographic farm Gardena. Back when he got into real estate, that broker said, Larry, this is your area. You are going to farm this area. He had no choice. He didn't know, but the broker, I guess, had other agents and it was a way to keep peace, I guess.
Yeah.
And they just delegated certain areas.
Interesting.
Yeah.
You know, that is so interesting because it's so true. Back in the late 80s and 90s, they would delegate certain areas that agents were, farming. You know, today you don't think of it, you don't talk about it. You can farm and be anywhere in any city. But in those times, everyone had a respect for one another that was your territory.
Wow. I had no idea.
It kind of resonates on what you're saying because it was so true that, and that's what made success of a lot of real estate entrepreneurs like your father, like yourself, is you devoted, you dedicated, and you just grind every single day in the area that you focus. And that kind of helps understand the community, right?
Yes.
And understand, who is moving into the neighborhood, who's leaving the neighborhood, but you get to see the trend, right? So that's really, really important for, real estate agents to understand the vitals of farming, right? Because I think that's where a lot of your business comes from.
Yeah.
Is the devotion and dedication of your farm.
Mhm.
So that's awesome. So then how did the team, did it just automatically start? Or was it something that you or your father just decided to structure this team?
So my dad he's the bold one. He has the vision.
Yeah.
He wanted a team because the structure of the MREA book, it builds a team. And so after reading that, he went after it. He got it. And his dream was the seventh level. And a year before he was going to retire, and then I was going to start building the team. He passed away,
Right.
unfortunately.
Yeah.
But yeah, because of that book, that laid out the foundation of building the team.
Right. Yeah, and you were a solid team because your stepmother was also part of the team, and then Chris is also who
Yeah.
to this day is still
Yeah,
with
yeah.
you. So it's just an amazing structure and how you guys just run your business. One thing that I have to say, Al, is that you're devoted and you're so dedicated, regardless of what the outside looks. You're in the office on a daily basis, and every time I'm doing my walk, I see you in here on the phone, on your computer, and running around, getting ready for a listing appointment. Now, what is it that you're more heavily involved in? Is it more sellers or more buyers or a combination of both? What's your niche right now?
I would say right now it's broken down to about 70% sellers and then 30% buyers.
Okay,
You focus on the sellers, the buyer's going to land on your lap. Yeah.
absolutely. Do you do anything outside of your farm?
It's the sphere now. So the farm, I go out, it's not as often as I should. And then basically not so much farming, it's more going out and just visiting people out there and then connecting, reconnecting, but being face to face with them.
Yeah. What is one of the biggest challenge transactions you've been in your career? And I know there's a lot of them because you and the team have done tremendous business. But one that you think of that resonates with you, it could have been when you started real estate, it could be something technical now. Can you share with the group what that experience was?
The toughest ones are generally going to be like my first ones. They have the biggest impact. And
Right.
being coached, I had to make expired calls. And that was the focus. I had no client base. So I can start a geographic farm, and I did. And it took about 18 months to get my first listing. But the expired calls was right away. And so I did contact an expired. This is a rough old, grumpy old man. He's been expired twice. I was the third agent. And he happened to be in my geographic farm. That's why I got the call back. He goes, I know you. You drop off your
Yeah.
on my door, but I want to interview you because the two damn agents couldn't sell my house and it's all their fault. So I go to see him and he's a heavy smoker and it's a divorce sale.
Mm,
So the guy's, angry, grumpy. I understand.
yeah.
And the funny thing is, he goes, I got remarried to the same lady. She took half the first time, and she wants her second half, and have to sell his house. So I knew he was motivated.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, it was a interesting sale, but I remember it like it was yesterday.
Interesting. Yeah, those divorce sales are never fun. You know, one, it's the emotional chaos, right? Of two individuals that no longer want to be together. And you're just in the middle of this, trying to navigate, the process of the transaction. And your goal is just to close the deal. I can care less of the chaos, and I'm sorry that you guys are going through this, but my number one priority, and you have such a demeanor, Al, and such a calmness to you that just resonates with all of us, with the people that you do business with your colleagues here, always have a smile in your face. There's not one moment that I see you, upset or mad, and that I think really resonates and really helps tremendously in your business, So thank you for sharing that. So what has been one of the biggest successes that you were like so proud moment that you think, man, this, I wish that all my transactions were like this.
I could almost reflect back to that same transaction that was so tough.
Yeah.
Because after it was done, the wife, the ex-wife, she's so grateful and kind. And the seller, we became kind of close friends after the sale. He moved to San Diego, and he told me like the nightmares that he went through to try to sell the house. And it took him a few times. But he says, "You're a great guy." He gave me referrals. So it was a tough mountain to climb. I got beat up, yelled at. And at the end, they were both of them divorced, but both of them very happy.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you made something bad to good, basically.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I walked away from it as feeling really good about it.
Yeah, a good feeling of accomplishment.
Yeah, it was a great
Because
challenge.
yeah, I mean, it's brutal, I hear a lot of agents that do work with divorce situations. Sometimes it's not just the agent, but you have another agent because both of the partners are no longer wanting to work with one another, and they feel that even their agent is not, taking care of their best interest, so they'll hire another agent. So that could be intense if you do have someone else that you're working with trying to sell a property.
Mhm.
So yeah, I know those feelings. Well, it's funny you say that, Al, because I remember one incident.
Remember the other one?
Yeah, it was kind of similar where the two parties came here. I literally had to separate them in two different conference room, and it was a match. I mean, and then I made the mistake that ultimately got them together and everything was calm, but then they blew up and then he walks away to the office pissed, cussing and all that stuff. But ultimately we were able to get them through the finish line.
Yes.
Yeah,
I
remember that. Tell us a little bit of your database. How's your database look like? How many people on your database do you have, do you think?
4,000, and that's the crux of our business now.
Okay.
Yep, it's all a database. But if I trace the database, it actually came from my dad's farm for years and years and years. So it's not just the geographic farm, it's the kids, it's the grandkids now. So that's like a legacy, and that's what feeds our business. It's a great business to have like that. It's just like you're a family member, they call you and they say, "I need help." And that's what we're here for now. Do you need to sell it? Do you need somebody to buy? Maybe lease it out? That's what we're here for, to help them, give them options. They don't always have to sell the property. Maybe they can hold on to it and lease it out, and it could be left for their kids. So that's part of the educational process.
Yeah, interesting. So, in all of the marketing, what is the number one thing that you and the team do to promote yourself?
So every month, I would say 11 months of the year, we issue out a newsletter.
A newsletter.
So it's really an ugly newsletter, nothing special about it, but it just goes out every month with the exception of December. Then we started in January again, but it's consistent.
Okay, and that's the key, consistent, right?
Yeah.
So that's part of the niche that you do, and this is how you generate so many listings from it, is because of your farming and campaign flyers.
Just keeping in touch.
Yeah.
That's another touch, besides an email, besides a phone call, besides a face-to-face. It's that newsletter that's there every month, that we can count on, it's gonna be there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, let's dive into a listing presentation, because you go on a lot of appointments. Uh, What do you do to prepare for a listing?
A lot of it is gonna be questions, so I don't even call it a listing appointment. I call it a listening appointment.
A listening appointment.
Because I'm not going to a
Interesting. Okay.
listing appointment. I'm not there to list the
I
house.
like that.
I'm
Okay.
going there to listen to what their trouble is or what they want to go to, something, a pleasure. They're either gonna move away from pain or seek pleasure. That's their goal. Something's causing them to make the move. And selling isn't always the best option. So I always say, hey, what are you guys looking to do? We want to sell. Okay, I know you want to sell, but why do you want to sell? Is it financial? Is it, so a couple sellers, they say, I need to sell. Okay, you need to sell, why? They don't tell you right away, but if you dig into it, sometimes you find out they don't really want to sell. They just need somebody to buy the house because they need cash immediately. So you can provide different options. Have you thought about refinancing? And then maybe taking some money out? And some of them might offer that. They don't know these things. And that's what we're here for. It's not just to sell the house, it's to facilitate different options and then provide them the best option.
Right. I love that. That's a good point. I never thought about it that way. Instead of saying listing appointment, you're going on a listen appointment. You go out and listen to your clients, because that is the core of what we do. We have to be great listeners.
Yeah.
Because you'll get the answers when you're a great listener. I love that.
Mhm.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Where did you learn that from? Who told you that one?
So many coaches, I don't know which coach coined that one. The other one I like is God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth. There's a reason for that. Listen, don't talk.
Yeah.
Yeah. Listen twice as much as you can. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, when going on these listing appointments, what's your conversion? Do you usually get the listing immediately, or?
I do 2 steps.
Okay.
So I first go out and I don't even bring the listing paperwork. I just go out there to listen to see what their need is.
Their motivation?
Yeah. So motivation and then what's the need. So you'll be surprised because sometimes they want to sell, but they don't want to put on the MLS, or they want to sell, they want to fix it up. They don't know like how much is the house worth. So you give them options. You can sell to an investor, say they'll give you $800,000 for it. And there's no headaches with this, and there's no brokerage fees. So they're like, why are you telling me that? I said, because it's an option for you. You can go to Open Door, get an offer, see what they will give you for the house. We can go on the market. Here's stats for the market. You can get $1 million for the house, the way it is right now. We can do a little paint, floor, put in about 10, 15,000, and you'll get 1.1. So there's return. Or you can do a complete kitchen remodel, bathroom remodel if it needs it. You might put in about 60 to 80,000, and here's your return on investment there. So I give them all the options as possible, and then tell them like, you think about it, you let me know which direction you want to go, and then we can come back and talk again. And then the second point is usually the time they want to decide to list.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, interesting. So it's a 2-part
Yeah,
presentation kind of.
yeah. One is just to gather information.
Yeah.
And then see the house. So I can gather a lot over the phone, and usually their option is just to sell the house. They don't have other ideas. And then when I go to meet them, I pitch out the different ideas and options that they have available. Then I get to see the property. Does it need new flooring? Does it need new paint? Will it increase the sale?
Okay, so you go above and beyond when it comes to the consultation to try to find, what best way to leverage the property to get the maximum amount of money for them.
And then even provide like concierge services. So a lot of them will say, I do know it needs to be painted. I do know the carpet is faded, it should be replaced. I don't have the money for that. So there's that option. I can provide that for you. The payment will be through escrow. And then the light bulb goes and just, you can do that? I said, absolutely. You want to opt for that? We can get estimates and it's your decision.
Yeah.
And then they feel more free. I think we're just trying to build a trust. And my trust in what I'm trying to help them is to really maximize money if that's what they're looking for, or an easy sale. And the easy sale could be to an investor. They're not going to make that much money. I won't get any fees, but I need to give them those options. I'm just being open and honest with
Yeah, and that's important, being open and obviously honest with them,
them.
because as you said earlier, there's a reason behind their uh, either motivation or why they're having a conversation with a real estate agent, especially someone like yourself, because your conversions are always, great. You convert them and ultimately get them into getting them to list their homes. So that's great. Um, what about, let's kind of dive deep into your marketing. What do you do to market the property once you have it under contract? Anything spectacular that you do, you know?
I'm probably a poor example of marketing. And on top of that, I'm very introverted, so I'm not out there trying to talk to people. That's good news for everybody else, because if I can do it, you guys can
Anyone
definitely
can.
kill it.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, but yeah, in the years that I've known you, and it's the consistency that I've always seen, and I think that's what admires and shows really respect in what you do, because it's not an easy industry to be in, especially as a newly licensed agent or someone that's getting back into the industry. It's the daily grind, right? And the importance of having a game plan, right? But out of everything, it's prospecting every day, it's lead generating every day, right? And it's ultimately what's gonna give you open opportunities to have a conversation with either a buyer, a seller, or an investor, right?
Yep, exactly.
So
That's our business.
that is our business.
Find a buyer, find a seller, and just get in their way, and then talk to 10 people a day.
Yeah,
I mean, just start there, and then your business will grow.
Yeah.
Just be consistent.
yeah, I love that. Being consistent, folks, is the key to success, right? Um, what would you share with the group if you had an opportunity to go back in and redo this? What would you do differently, if anything?
Listen to my coach. First, get a coach, and that's hard.
Yeah,
If you can't afford a coach, find another agent. You know the crux of the business. It's simple, but it's not easy because, like Simon said, it is a grind.
yeah,
But once you start doing it, it becomes a habit. And then the habit is what just propels you. You just wake up and just do it. And you don't realize, like, oh, I've already spoken to 10 people without even trying. It's just part of your routine.
yeah. And it's so important, and we instill this on a regular basis with everyone in the office. The people that are devoted and dedicated, they know exactly that if they're not out there prospecting, they're not going to see the benefits of having open escrows, because the importance of what we do is to serve our clients and our communities, but it's also to earn a living and a good living into this, and you've done, and the team has done amazing business in the last, several years. Uh, that it really showcase who you are, and you believe in it, and it goes back to your father, right? The legacy that your father has instilled in all of us, including myself. The importance of doing what you need to do and have a passion for it, and this is the end results.
Well, I mean, really, it's the support structure too.
Yeah,
So the leadership down, it trickles down here. We feel it, and that's we thrive on it. So thank you for providing this environment. It's fun.
yeah. No, thank you. One final thought, that what can you share with the group of anything? Yeah, anything that you'd like to share with the group.
Be open, be honest, take your client's best interest first. You put out the good will come back to you.
Absolutely. Awesome. Well, Al, guess what? It's 8:30. I appreciate your time. You know, it's so amazing to hear kind of the history of where you've been and where you're at now. And, you know, we definitely truly appreciate you. So thank you for your time.
Oh, thank you. Samuel.
Awesome. That concludes our
Thank you.
thank you, everyone. Enjoy your Friday afternoon. Stay safe, and we'll see you on the next one.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Al. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Take care.